Revelation of the Neowapians. Paa TARAQ, the way. Paa Munzal Nadjar, Amun Ptah Djedi. Power of the language. Paa Nabab Yaanuwn, the master teacher, H.E. Malachi Z K York, born Tuesday, June 26th, 1945 AD, Ghana, Africa. The revelations to the Neowapians. Paa TARAQ, the way. Power of the language. Verse 1. Lekum, my beloved Neowapu, Kreadu, Neowapian children. Genesis 11:1-7. That was all about Lanuage language, not the tower. Read this over clear. Genesis chapter 11:1. And the whole land, the word there for land is found under Hebrew Strong's number 776, Aratz, meaning land, firm, field, ground, earth. Verse 3. It is clear that it means the whole of Mesopotamia and not the complete Kawak, Ptah, planet Earth, as the word is used. So all the Shakhasar people there were taught the tongue of Adam. This being Bible, in the Bible, this being because in the Bible, Genesis 2:19, Adam gave names, and whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. Verse 6, in Genesis 2:20, that was a language of the Elohim, or Anunnaki, Genesis 2:20. And Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowl of the air and to every beast of the field, but for Adam there was not found an help meet for him. This is also confirmed in the Islamic Quran, chapter 2:31. And he, Allah, taught Adam all the names. So this Adam of 6,000 years ago was taught how to speak a tongue by his makers, Ha Elohim, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So Genesis chapter 11 verse 1 reads, and the whole land was of one lip. Hebrew Strong's number 8193. Shafar, meaning lip. That is the way one uses their lips to pronounce words. This word is the same word used in Islamic tongue of Arabic for the word lip, shafat, and the word meaning to speak in Hebrew Strong's number 1697, word to arrange, speak, and in Arabic, the bar means to elapse, pass, go by. So it is clear that this first verse is dealing with speaking in a certain way. You will find the mistranslated words, language, and speech in most English Bibles to hide the truth meaning of this chapter. The story of Genesis chapter 11 was not about a Tower of Babel, yet rather about confounding the language, as you read in the last verse, number 9. Therefore, in the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. So those creatures under the rule of Ha Elohim, the Anunnaki, taught this Adam a way to speak, a specific tongue, a frequency, a vibration 6,000 years ago, in part of the world called Mesopotamia. These Anunnaki needed them all to speak one tongue, while you read in Genesis 10 that there were many tongues from many places. 1. Ugaritic. 2. Ashuric, Arabic. 3. Akkadian, Chaldean. 4. Shinar, Sumerian. 5. Erech, cuneiform. 6. Kalneh, Aramic. Verse 16. Then in verse 13, you see others from Afaf, Reye, Ka, Africa, starting with Misraim, from which is the Egyptian language, and the Nephtohim, which is Napatan or Neowapik. There was many tongues spoken worldwide, yet the Elohim needed their Lulu Amilu or Abd, slaves in Hebrew, Abdi, slaves in Arabic, under a spell of a tone. So when the Anunnaki spoke inside the heads of people, they would obey because they were on their frequency and susceptible to their thoughts. Verse 19. These Anunnaki could speak into their heads to control them, the same as happens to people today. For example, some people still hear voices telling them to go out and kill. That is why they had them speak on one of their own tones. Why or how? In their book of John chapter 1 verse 1 it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Now look at verse 14. "And Word was made flesh." Now you see the power of the language, tongue, tone, lips, and voice box. Look at the quote again. "And the Word was made flesh." Words or sounds can incarnate into physical form. As people call on the dead, spirits, or ghosts to come forth in their rituals or prayers, as did all the prophets of the religions of Abraham, the Chaldean of Mesopotamia. In Genesis 18, 1-8, "And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away. I pray thee from thy servants, let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the tree, and I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, for therefore are ye come to your servants. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto a young man. And he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. So, as done in the churches to enchant them, they use gospel to lure them into being mental and physical slaves, to call on spirits in Acts 2:2. Acts 2:2. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven, as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. Verse 24. And calling on evil Elohim, as in 2 Kings 17:29. Howbeit, every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places, which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. Verse 25. Each Salal race had their own tones to call on their Elohim, who spoke lies to their religious prophets in 1 Kings 22:21-23. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him, and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now, therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. And evil Elohim raised from the spirit of the dead. Tayaf art ghosts. 1 Samuel 28:13. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. Verse 26. Their Elohim come up out of the earth, ghosts, specters, called up by tones, names, their familiar spirits. Leviticus 26. And soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards, to go a whoring after them. I will even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people. As evil Yahweh's 1 Samuel 19:9. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, and he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand, 1 Samuel 18:10-16-23. Their Yahwehs and their Elohim, that is Rab and Alihat in Arabic, were evil. Deuteronomy 32:17. The people who follow Ibrahim, who was also called Ibrahim, were killing in the name of God. Look at all them that speak Semitic tongue, fighting and killing each other the world over. Lanuage. Look at all them that speak Semitic Lanuage, fighting and killing each other the world over. His religions today are Mosaism, Jesusism, Mohammedism, and the many subgroups that follow the books of the lying prophets who called on spirits that came forth as light, fire, or a burning bush in the Torah, and as cloven tongues in the Gospels, and a shining being in the cave of Arabia to reveal the Quran. Verse 32. Beings of the fire. Today, most don't know the facts are because all the original books of their prophets were destroyed to hide the truth. Again, the control over your mind is caused by the tones, vibrations, and frequencies. How you speak, sing, chant, and which tone, language, or tongue your lips shape the words that call these specters to rule your body. 1 Corinthians 12:4-11. Now, there are diversities of gifts, but the same spirits, and there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord, and there are diversities of operations, but it is the same God which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the same Spirit, for to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another divers kind of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. But all these worketh that one and the selfsame Spirit, dividing to every man severally, as he will, in 1 Corinthians 14:1-9. With all this being said, it means that those workers of iniquity with their miracles are done to deceive you, to lure you, to win your over, and to keep you worshipping and giving life to beasts, to keep you bound to them spiritually, emotionally, mentally, which means the body automatically. Verse 37. They call it receiving the Holy Ghost, speaking in tongues, when in fact it is possessions by the dead, ghosts, spirits, specters, evil one that take over their bodies because they open themselves up by vibrating on the wrong tone or frequency. This is what music can do to a person or even a lecture, and their tones are broadcast by the TV through shows and commercials, by the tones in their voices, and the tones in the music also played through the radio. They are preaching in tones which affects and takes over the preacher. Then it affects the congregation. They think they are feeling good, filled with the Holy Ghost. It is a ghost, yet it is far from holy. Verse 40. It started back in Mesopotamia when these Elohim, Alihat, and Anunnaki taught their creation. Adamites to speak one tongue, tone, one way or lips, a particular pronunciation or vernacular, and by that they named each of them in that language related to their dead spirits or ghosts. You're not one John. You are all Johns. You're all Yahudas and all Ahmads. Why? Because you call this tone or word, and the word was made flesh, and they manifest and come into your flesh using their body as a portal to come to this realm. You call and they come. Now that there is a portal opened thanks to the atom smasher or the hadron collider, you are all the spirits who have the same name as you, dead and alive. You call on a dead being, they come. You say Jesus, Allah, or Shango, spirits can come. They can also come as them to deceive you into thinking you're talking with a saint or blessed Mother Mary or angels, just to get you to open up to them. Verse 45. It is all about tones, vibrations, frequencies, your language or tongue. Your name is linked to spirits. So the Hebrews of the Torah want you to have a Hebrew name. The Christians want you to have a Christian name. And the Muslims want you to have an Arabic Muslim name. They each have rituals where you offer your being to those tones. Misra, baptism, or Shahada rituals to their Salaf, ancestor spirits. It's all about tones, and the door is your heart. You open it up to them and they enter and take over your mind. It starts with a Ranan name. This is how it was done back then in Mesopotamia and how it is done today. Verse 51. It enforces the spelling. As you read on in Genesis 11, you see the point is they were united. Who united them? Nimrod in Genesis 10:6. Genesis 10:6. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one. and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Who was he? The son of Cush in Genesis 10:6. Who was Cush? The son of Ham in Genesis 2:13. You see, Ethiopia, yet under the Hebrew Strong's number 3568. Cush, meaning black-skinned people, black-skinned race. The son of Ham, Hebrew Strong's number 2345. Ham meaning swather, black, brown. Who was this in history or our story? Egypt, Sudan, Africa. We were able to speak our own tone, Lanuage, vibration, frequency since 54,000 years ago, long before the Adamites. The ruddy earthling of Mesopotamia was taught the Semitic Lanuage 6,000 years ago. Ham as Ham is Hebrew and Ham in Arabic. Both of these Semitic tongues came from Africa's Sudan or Ethiopian. One, Sudan, Ethiopian. Two, Ethiopian Marur. And Napata is Naptuhim in their Bible. Naptuhim in their Bible, found in Genesis 10:13 and 1 Chronicles 1-11. That is Nuwapic, later called 1 Sabaean, 2 Sabaeyic, 3 Napatian, 3 Nabataean or Nabataean. Verse 61. Once Semitic Lanuage were mixed with it by invaders into Arabia and to Africa, you had it transformed into dialects, Abjad. Excuse me. 1 Berber, 2 Arabic, 3 Hebrew, 4 Madaic, 5 Manichaean, 6 Persian, 7 Nabatean, 8 Parthian, 9 Phoenician, 10 Sumerian, 11 Gizik, 12 Aramic, 13 Amharic, 14 Syriac, 15 Tifinagh, 16 Chaldees, 17 Akkadian, 18 Ugaritic, 19 Sogdian. Verse 63. They mix with ancient Egyptian languages, so many think Nuwapic came from Semitic when it's the other way around. So this Ham's Sudan, son Cush, Ethiopia, moved east to Mesopotamia, took a wife of them, birthed Nimrod, Babel, who was a Gibori, Hebrew Strong's number 1365. Gibori, meaning a demigod. Mighty One. In Arabic, it is Jabbar meaning mighty strong. This name is one of Allah's own attributes. Number 9, Allah, the strong one. Allahu al-Jabbaru. So this Nimrod you read about in Genesis was an African who spoke Nuwapic. When he grew, his mother took a wife for him of her seed, and he was a great man. His father taught him Nuwapic, his own tone, so the Anunnaki were not able to control him or could not get inside of his head. So he was considered rebellious. And he taught Nuwapic to his followers. He renamed them as it says in Genesis 11:14. So Nimrod broke that. He came and taught them a new Lanuage, new names, and the Anunnaki knew that would break the spell. Now, the spell was broken. They spoke their own tongue and named themselves in Nuwapic, Napatan, Naftohim, and Nabatian. The people were united mentally. This angered the Elohim, Anakim, or Anunnaki, because Nimrod changed the frequency, and thus the control they had over the people. So they were free mentally because their broadcast of their Lanuage had stopped as it has today. You are no longer under their broadcast. Those of you who follow after other than your own are still being affected by remnants of the broadcast because you changed your tone or vibration to theirs. You tuned into another station. Once the spell was broken, the people of Nimrod's time works for self and kind, no longer slaves for their masters or overlords. Verse 80. In Genesis 11:2, they moved away to set up their own land. Genesis 11:2. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Genesis 11:3. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. Yet you must note how this verse opens, and they themselves spoke, one to another, to each other, not to their masters. They did not ask permission. They spoke to each other in their own language, in their own tongue, They were free to build on their own what they wanted. In Genesis 11:4, you see name, let us make a name. In Hebrew Strong's number 8033, Sham means here, and name in Hebrew Strong's number 8085, and heaven is Hebrew Strong's number 8064. All are rooted in the Hebrew word Sham. They had to make a name to be recognized or heard reaching the heavens. Nimrod wanted to communicate with Enki after tying back into his African roots. Enlil did not like the idea of losing control of the people, yet it was worse that his land, Mesopotamia, not the whole earth, had a change of tones. Nimrod, Mat, brought Niwapuyi to the plains of Shinar, to Mesopotamia, an area under the rule of Enlil and his sons. Verse 90. While Africa was Enki's domain with Nuwapic tones, once Nimrod migrated to his ancient home of Kush, his father, he brought the tones of his tongue back to this land. They decided to build this tower, which was like an antenna to be heard, which ties back to Sham. They were making a name for themselves with this tower to broadcast to the heavens so they would be heard by Enki, or else, as the Bible says in Genesis 11:4, we will be separated into others by Enlil. In Genesis 11:5, and the Yahweh, that was Enlil, came down to earth to observe, see what they were doing. He, as God, did not know what was going on in their minds anymore. He had to come down to earth to see what had broken the mental control they had over these people. Enlil had no power over these new beings. Enlil breaks down to En, meaning Master Lord Lil, or of the skies or heavens. Enlil and his sons Nanar and Nin-Nurta had to come down to earth from above to see what was going on, because the people now were on their own radio station. They could not hear the people's thoughts, could not broadcast into their heads. They no longer heard voices, the signals, transmissions, or communications were cut off. They had their own broadcasting tower, a high structure with an antenna for receiving electromagnetic waves, frequencies, sounds, and voices. Verse 100. They were cut off from these children of Adam, this part of the seed, in Genesis 11:5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. In Genesis 11:6, what did Enlil see? That these new beings were united as one, and they spoke one language or tongue, Nuwapic, taught to them by Cush and Nimrod. And Enlil saw and heard them speaking it all, and this they begin to do in Genesis 11:6. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Verse 103. Now make note. He left, returned to above, and told what he saw and heard, and then said to his sons Nanar and Nin-Urta in Genesis 11:7, go to, let us. Enlil, Nanar, and Nin-Urta go down to earth and confound. In Hebrew Strong's number 1101, balal, meaning mingle, mix, fold, overflow, confound their language. You see, to mix up our pure language, Nuwapik, with their Semitic tongue, why, Lanuage, why? Well, it says that they may not understand one another's speech. There, it is right there to confuse us by way of speech, language, tongue, dialect. How we speak, what we speak, the tones, vibrations, and our own frequency on our own radio stations are linked to our own Salafu ancestors. Read Genesis 11:8. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. So the Lord Yahweh Enlil, this Yahweh or living being, scattered them us abroad from thence there, Mesopotamia, upon the face of all the earth. So you see here it says all the earth, the whole planet. That is not what Genesis 11 verse 1 says. It was just that part of land or earth, Mesopotamia. Verse 111. Now we were moved all over. They returned back to Africa, some to the land of Canaan, others mixed and moved northward to Haran, Turkey, and Europe. So you see, we stopped building our radio towers over there and deserted our city in Babylon, upper and lower. Read Genesis 11:9. So that was why it was called Babel, because of language, speech, tongue. Not the building of a tower to heaven, yet a radio tower to communicate with Enki, Murdoch, and Nabu, which are the Anunnaki we spoke with who came into Africa. So it was called the place of confusion, better the place where Lanuage were mixed. So the true story is not about a building, yet about Nuwapik coming to Mesopotamia and breaking the spell. This freed the minds of Enlil and his sons, Nanar and Ninurta. By doing this, links them back to Enki and his sons Murdoch and Nabu. Verse 119. Now reread this chapter with a free mind and you will see. Verse 120. What did the Anunnaki of Enlil do in Genesis 11:67? And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. It was all about language, speech. So what they do in Genesis 11:8-9. So The Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Verse 1-1. Therefore is the name confusion Babel, by what confounding the language. It really had nothing to do with destroying a tower, another, or their prophets' lies. So we must continue to break his spell again. It was about Nuwapik, as it is now with you. You must tune in to your frequencies, to your own ancestors. My beloved jewels of my eyes, learn to speak our own tongue and break their spell, shut off their station. Paa Nabab Yaanuwn, Kawan Yatwi Tarak Kum.